All right, in this lesson, what I'm going to call this is the earthy finger strum. And now you're going to notice that it's got an earthy type sound because we're not using the guitar pick. Now, I know a lot of my students, sometimes they prefer not using the guitar pick. I do encourage most of my students, probably all of my students, to at least get comfortable using the guitar pick. But there are many times when it's necessary just to get rid of the guitar pick and play something a little bit different. Sometimes your guitar pick gets lost and you've got to use your fingers. I know I lose guitar picks all the time. I've got it's the same thing that happens with my socks in the dryer. They just disappear. So I know that happens with guitar picks. So whenever that happens, you come across a guitar without a guitar pick, it's nice to be able to do some different things without having to always use a guitar pick. All right, so this has got a nice percussive kind of sound to it. You'll notice that in a lot of acoustic songs, especially I'd say in the 90s, early 2000s, there were a lot of songs coming out that just had this kind of percussive feel to it. It's still very popular to this day, but it's something that's just really fun to be able to use and be able to play with your picking hand, with your strumming hand. All right, so let's take a closer look. All right, so we're going to start by plucking the bass string. We're going to play the G chord. So the bass note is going to be the 3rd fret of the 6th string. So you're going to pluck that with your thumb. And then we're going to use your first finger to do an upstroke there. We're not really going to do too many downstrokes with our finger, at least in this pattern. If you do, you can kind of if you're ever just using your fingers, you can use, like your nail almost as the guitar pick. But for this exercise, for this pattern, we're just going to do an upstroke there. So I'm going to hit the bass note first, and then our first finger. Now here's where the percussive bit comes into play. What we're going to do is after we do that upstroke, we're going to take our hand and place it against the strings. It's almost like palm muting, where you're going to stop any of the strings from vibrating by almost kind of giving it a karate chop. You can, when you do hear percussive style guitarists, sometimes they'll have their knuckle hit the body of the guitar. Get that sound, get that percussive sound. So, there are a few different ways that you can do it. It depends on how you're playing the song and what kind of sound you're going for. But yeah, you can kind of do it as like a karate chop, or you can kind of, place your hand almost in a fish shape. That way you can kind of, like you're knocking on a door. I like to just kind of let my fingers just kind of hang there. And then I do like that percussive sound, so I usually do have at least one of my knuckles hitting the wood, but just do something that feels natural and comfortable for you. The whole point of it is you want to mute the strings, and at least if you want that percussive sound, enough pressure, to be able to kind of either make some sort of sound by hitting the body of the guitar, or just by hitting the strings. So this is hitting the strings. This is the hitting my knuckle against the body. All right, so that's really what we're doing with our right hand, with our strumming hand. So we're going to do bass note, upstroke, and then we're going to stop and do that little hit, and then another upstroke, and then back to the bass note. So bass note, up, and then another upstroke. And then what I'm doing here with my fretting hand is I'm actually playing my G a little bit differently. Maybe you've played your G like this before, where you're using your 4 fingers instead of playing your G like this. I'm taking my 3rd finger, my ring finger, and I'm placing it up on the 2nd string, same fret on that 3rd fret, and then I'm putting my pinky right beside it there, still on the 3rd fret, but just now on the 1st string. The reason why I'm doing that is because this particular pattern or progression, if you want to incorporate another chord into it, is a C add 9 chord, which all we're doing there is moving our 1st finger and our 2nd fingers across to the next set of strings. So instead of being on the 5th and 6th strings, we're going to be on the 4th and 5th strings. So that changes it from a G to a C add 9. And these, our 3rd and 4th fingers, just stay anchored there. That's kind of why I like to play my G like that sometimes, is you can go back and forth between the G and the C add 9. So play that same thing now with the C chord. I'm just playing a different bass note, so I'm playing the 5th string now instead of the 6th string when I was on the G. I'm just going, when I'm playing that C chord, I'm going like this. Bass note now is on the 5th string. So here's the G again. And then here's the C. And then put it all together. All right, a very percussive style strumming pattern. It's a lot of fun to play. It's fun just to, when you're hanging out with people, just kind of give them something a little bit different. Throw the pick away and do some percussive style playing. Or practice that, and I'll see you in another lesson very soon.